Hi guys, and welcome to another rapid fire hobby hacker video. We've got this little vehicle here. I've thrown on a quick freehand camo with the airbrush, and I'm going to go over basically how to slap windows on this thing. Because of the color scheme, we're going to go for something really striking that really stands out. So we're going for a nice pale blue, and we're going to fade that down to a black. Just a really quick, effective way of airbrushing in your windows really fast. So let's crack to it. First job is I'm going to gloss varnish, and I'm going to dry the heck out of it so that when I mask up, because we're going to be using just a plain old masking tape just to mask around each of the windows, we don't want that to peel off any of this paint. We're going to be masking off the windows. If this isn't 100% cured, the adhesive in your masking tape is going to bond with the paint in its tacky state, and it's just going to straight peel right off. If it's completely cured, which overnight should be great, if it's a bit cold, maybe even a bit longer. If it's a nice warm place, it'll take a couple of hours. As long as this is absolutely cured, you won't even get marks from your masking tape. Right, we're all dried. It's nice and crisp, it feels wonderful. It doesn't feel that tacky way anymore. Next job is masking the windows. You can see I've done a couple. Dead simple. Plain old masking tape. This is crepe paper type, but whatever type you pick really doesn't matter. And I'm just gonna roughly take a length the size I require. I'm going to stick that covering all the windows. Make sure I get a nice join where the two tapes are overlapping. And I'm going to push down like heck, just to get a really strong imprint of the outline of each window. There we go. I'm then going to take a craft knife, brand new super sharp blade, and I'm simply going to cut out the outline of each window. The only thing to try and do here is cut through the tape, but don't cut through the paint. Now, I'd usually use Frisket film for this job, but to be honest, that's not something everybody has to hand. It's a clear adhesive backed film that you use when you're doing airbrushing pictures and such like, and it's perfect for this sort of thing. See, we've just got a little tear there, just push it down. It's wonderfully sticky, releases dead easily and cuts amazingly, so if you can get it, I advise you do. Any loose floppy areas, just fold them down. Now, the lip inside these windows is always a blooming issue. You can't get the tape to stick round the corner very well because there isn't enough surface area for it to adhere to properly. So I've chosen to just leave them open, and I'm going to look at it when it's finished, and I might decide I'm going to cut off this little overhanging bit somewhat smaller. I might decide to just leave it because it doesn't look so bad, or I might decide to go in there ever so delicately with a black brush. Okay, so we have our windows outlined. Now, this area around here is going to catch overspray. No two ways about it. So we're going to mask off very quickly and very loosely the rest of the vehicle, but we're going to pay attention to the seam lines. We're going to make sure that those seam lines are down nice and firm, because that's where your paint will creep in. Same on this side. Nice strong join on that seam. And it's amazing just how far the overspray can creep. So we're going to loosely mask the entire vehicle, which is why we waited for the entire vehicle to be dry. We're ready to move on. Okay, we're ready to paint. So you can probably hear me airbrush in the background. I do apologise. So I have a very little amount of white paint. Didn't down quite a lot, so I'm getting a nice smooth flow out of it. I'm just going to dust that on. I'm going to wait for that to dry. Now I've not hit very hard and heavy. I mean, you can see through this as it's drying, and that's because I've gloss varnished it. I want to have a nice dust coat on to give my subsequent coats something solid to grab hold of. Now because the gloss coat was an acrylic resin that I've used, just Vallejo gloss varnish, as opposed to a polyurethane or such like, as the paints cure they will cross-link and they will bond wonderfully. But right at the beginning, when it's dead fresh as it is here, it can streak and run, sometimes bobble up, sometimes create fish eyes, all for the sake of not putting on a little dust coat first, which is your really thin coat that you've thrown over the top. Now you'll also notice, can you notice? Yeah, there we go, that I've got window wipers. I chose not to mask over the window wipers because it seemed that it would have caused me more hassle than it was worth. So I'm just going to paint those in with a brush when the rest of the windows are done. I think that will do. I really do. Lovely. So I'm going to clean my brush out. I'm going to pick a nice blue. I've picked a nice rich royal blue here. Thin it down a little. Well, actually, thin it down a lot. Okay. See, that is wonderfully thin. And what I'm going to do is, starting off on the paper, I'm going to lay in a nice subtle fade. And the reason I've done it on the paper is so that the fade itself comes from the overspray and not from directly airbrushing. You get a much smoother gradient that way. Going in again to darken that down. So there's hardly any white left on those windows. It's definitely paler at the top, but there's hardly any white. I'm then going to tip out the remainder of the blue. I'm not going to clean my cup. And I'm going to fire in with a black. Again, thinned down. I'm going to make sure my brush is no longer blowing the blue out and is fully transitioned to black. I can see that's virtually dry already. A quick dry, and we're going to unmask the vehicle. The slower you pull, and as you can see I'm pulling it really parallel to the model, the less likely you are to rip off paint. If you just get in there and rag it off, there's a good chance you're going to remove paint while you're at it. As I say, the longer you leave it cure, the less likely that is to happen. And you can see straight up we have these incredible poppy windows that really, really stand out. But we're not finished yet. And we're going to do our specular highlights in white paint. Straight up white. Straight out of the pot, no messing. And there we have a really simple, effective poppy window. As you've seen yourself, really fast to do, minimal effort, and if you pick your colours right, it explodes on the model. Look at that. Let's pop this top back on. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you found this a little bit useful.